Do you think that when you got the feedback to these articles you were writing, and a lot of it was hating you, but at the same time, Joe Rogan's retweeting you and you're getting a job from it, and did it maybe sort of almost Pavlovian condition you to enjoy and incentivize you to write more things that people are going to hate and get that hate, even though it doesn't feel necessarily nice, because that pushes you up in the...
I've actually been very bad at that. Truthfully, even my first editor, he said, you're just too rational to go viral. So I've had pieces go viral, but it's not because I have ever intended for them. I do not think like that. I feel like only now have I started not caring enough to put clips out where I'm like, oh, I know how this is going to be taken out of context because it's 1 minute out of a 10-minute thing. We've clipped it to be people react to this stuff, and I'm very uncomfortable about that. I'm like, I don't want to make... I'm a divorced kid. I don't want to make people mad. I want people to get along, and so I've been very... But on the other hand, I love pushing buttons. I mean, my friend used to joke, he's like, Bridget, I feel like you go through the world like a kid in an elevator.
That's quite a nice thing to be. That could be your epitaph. But that would mean you're dead.
Yes.
Nice. But it will happen.
But then I'm like that kid that's like, why do we need to stop on every floor? Like, the world will push back if you push buttons. And that's why I don't mind. Like, look, I love Max Meyer. He's in town. He just launched this new magazine, Arena, and it's for the whole idea is that the new needs friends. And it's like all of the tech magazines are so anti-tech and anti-humanity and anti-progress in the sense of all of the amazing things that Americans and technology have been capable of. Like, yeah, are there downsides? Yes, but his manifesto in the first episode is truly brilliant. So the name of the magazine, The Arena, comes from that famous Theodore Roosevelt quote that it's the man in the arena who counts, it's not the critic. And I have said to many people, I always advise, people want to know like how to deal. They're like, how do you deal with the trolls? I'm like, this is like Tom Brady listening to someone yelling at him in the stands. You are in there on the playing field. If you're in there engaging and you're putting yourself out there and you're taking risks, it doesn't matter what they say. I take advice from people I respect, from people who are in the arena with me, from people. There are certain fans of mine who I really respect and have become friends with and listen to, and they've consumed a lot. Sometimes your fans and people who consume your content know you and your brand almost better than you, because you're just like out there churning and churning and churning, and they're taking it in and digesting it, and they're having time to reflect on it. And I find some of their feedback can be very helpful, but they're the people that are going to subscribe to you. They're going to invest in helping you grow. They're with you through thick and thin. Those are the people you listen to. You listen to the people who are trying to help you build something and see your vision, not like the random guys on YouTube and the people on Twitter. But I do think what I underestimated is just how much, like, this is stuff that like Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, they're masters at, and they understand intuitively how much all of that rage engagement blows you up.
Yeah.
And I've tended to shy away from it because I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just feel like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then they're going to misinterpret me and they're going to be like, this fucking girl. And
it might be a personality thing that they have. I don't know Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens, but just going back to Peter Boghossian, when I first met him, before we even were filming, he came into the room early and he wasn't supposed to be there yet. Didn't even say hello. He just sat on the floor and started eating a sandwich angrily. And I was like, oh, hello, I'm Andrew. Nice to meet you. And he was like, this country's gone. We were in London. He goes, country's gone to shit, man. This country's terrible. This is terrible. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it's gone. Everything's gone. And he was talking because there was a Palestine rally outside. And I was just like, oh, I know, Peter, but we've got an interview to do now. It's gonna. And he was like, yeah, I know, but you voted for this shit. And I was like, I didn't vote for any. Yeah, you voted for this. And I was like, I did not vote for. It was the Conservatives. It was the right wing anyway. What can we do? He's like, and I thought, well, he's just naturally got that. So maybe a lot of these guys are just naturally just very like, almost like a natural sensationalism of the self.
Interesting. Yeah, I do not. I don't know. It's weird. I have and I understand that it's like a bit of a paradox where I like pushing buttons, but I don't necessarily like rage baiting has never really appealed to me.
Yeah.
I could be really good at it. It's just not really that appealing to me. But now I'm kind of like, I don't care. Like nothing matters.
It's really hard though. I mean, there's a difference between clickbait. So clickbait is as in you've said something's there and then they click and it's not there. And,
Yeah.
that's bad. But then using maybe the most sensationalist thing somebody said in the title, because otherwise your video that you've worked really hard on is only going to get 1,000 instead of 1 million views. That's like, well, why wouldn't you? You know, you have to. And you hope that your audience understands that. And they always comment saying, oh, but I actually click less when it's sensational. It's like, well, you might, but we know that that's just not how it works.
Right.
How was my American accent before with Peter?
It was good.
Did it sound American?
Yeah.
Can you do British?
No, I'm horrible at it.
Come on, go on.
Can you do British?
It's not bad actually. Compared to America, that's quite good.
Can you do British? I don't. No. So I was gonna say something about the things of mine that have gone viral too. Like I regret being a slut. It's a catchy title.
Yeah.
I am good at titles, but they're not clickbait titles. I want to deliver on the premise. The one that recently went viral for a couple days on Twitter was there was one a couple days ago that was going bonkers, and that was just my own conflict about this election and whether like how I didn't want Kamala to win, but I didn't know if I could vote for Trump.
Yeah.
And then the other one that went crazy for like 2 days and started a whole conversation was just one I wrote in like an hour about my parents' divorce and how divorce is forever and how I didn't realize even as an adult with a child, how it would still affect me later on in life and it never ends. And that was like, it's always the ones I don't expect. And I wrote a column in my small town. The first writing gig I ever got, I was waitressing, and it was like 2002 or 3 maybe, and waiting tables. And I applied for this column job, and I got in so much trouble writing this column in my small town. And I was getting actual letters to the editor that they would print. I have all of them still.
That's cool.
I called it Gefwirophobia. It was fear of crossing bridges because we were on an island. And my name is Bridget. I thought it was a very clever title. And I would just write about local things. And I would write something that I thought would be really incendiary, like why are schools being put on probation? Why are our roads? And nothing, crickets. And then I would write about breakfast places, and it would be like fucking 3 days of outrage.
Yeah.
And and it was a small town, so people would see my dad and be like, "Why is Bridget writing about that?" It was just,
wow.
It taught me a very valuable lesson very early, though. It is never the thing you think it's going to be.
God. Okay. Well, maybe this will be the one.
It's always like the innocuous thing that you're like, oh, we'll just put that out there and not think twice about it. And then it's the thing. But it was always like the ones that I was like, this is going to get people really angry. And it would be just nothing. And then I wrote another one about the top 15 reasons you drive your white person to drink. And it was like all the things you do. And my editor called me and was like, don't leave your house.
Oh my God.
And they printed the letters to the editor for 4 weeks after that. And I never wrote a column again because my dad basically was like, please, why are you doing this? You're getting $50 column.
Just to get some fuel from people, just to get some feeling and to see your name in print.
But I mean, I've just always been a writer. It is of all the things I do, it's the one that is probably my strongest, and it's the one that comes the most naturally.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, go on, sorry.
Go on.
No, I was going to sort of ask where people can find you and stuff, because your writing was a natural segue to that.
To ending.
But, yeah. But if you had a thing you wanted to say, that's why I don't want to end it if there was a thing you were going to say.
Oh, I mean, I feel like we have so much ground to cover still, Andrew.
I know. We could do another one at some point.
We should.
Yeah.
So that was the trajectory. I do want to just wrap that thought up, is that I think now I just exist because I was always very like, I don't know about the right. They can get a little crazy too, and extreme. And now I think I just like where I am. I think there were many years in between in the past 8 years where I was like, there were definitely moments where I was like, am I carrying water for Nazis? You have that moment where you're
That's where I am now.
Oh, you'll get through it.
I'm 35. Maybe that's how you felt at 35.
Yeah, I think I was like 37. I was probably like 37, 38 at that moment. I remember being in DC after doing Gavin McGinnis's show, and it was the night he like wielded his sword and got canceled.
Yeah, that guy, I think I know.
Yeah.
Was he with the Vice guy?
Yeah, right. And I was doing it because I was talking about being a heroin addict, and Gavin came from Vice, and he so it was like whatever. And then he went out and like with the Proud Boy, and I was like in this tub in DC crying, being like, maybe I am like a bad person.
The fact that you thought that that's the bad people don't think that.
Maybe.
Have you read The Remains of the Day?
It was very upsetting, and then I don't know, and then you just kind of I don't know. Now I feel like moving here has helped a lot because it's kind of balanced. It's ideal. Like we're all over the map here. When I do comedy, I'm like, I really don't know. In LA, I know what my audience generally believes and thinks. And in New York, here, I don't know, which I like. I'm like, I don't know where you guys stand. And it's probably all across the map. So, I'm excited to see what happens this election.
Have you read the book The Remains of the Day or the movie?
No.
That's great. And I read it recently. I think it's my favorite book.
Okay.
But it's about, I won't go too much into it, but it's like a stately home. There's a butler. Anthony Hopkins plays the butler in the movie. And the guy, the lord of the manor or whatever, he is trying to help the Germans before the Second World War because he feels sorry for them. And I keep thinking, his name's Lord Darlington.
Yeah.
And it turns out that he was wrong and the Nazis rose and all of those kinds of things. But he meant well. And afterwards he becomes a recluse. He's like sat there and he can't move. And his butler's just sort of like, any tea, sir? And he's just going, I killed everyone. He doesn't even say that. He just doesn't even look up.
Yeah.
But am I Lord Darlington?
Yeah.
Are you? And that's the scary thing.
Yeah, you don't, and that is the thing, is you see the reaction, one side reacting after the other, and you're like, oh, I don't. And I wish I had the kind of stability and confidence that some of the people who are much bigger than me weather this stuff. But it's like, that is one place where I do wonder, like, is it audience capture? Is it algorithm capture? Is it just me getting older and now I'm not, that famous thing, like if you're a liberal and you're young, you're whatever. And if you're not, when you're older, you're an idiot or something. And so I don't know. I don't know.
No one knows. And that's what it has to be. You don't know. And that's some people think they know and they don't. So I think that's the only way to be.